What weight is it? The yarn?
It's a great question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to grill you.
The one time I'm like, we're not going to have to talk about this one that much because we talked about it before. And here you are like.
It's probably my poor memory as well, because you probably talked about all of this before and I just don't.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Coco.
I'm Marika, and we are
Serial Knitters. This is a knitting podcast. We're two friends in LA during quarantine. I guess it's not quarantine anymore, is it? We are socially distanced.
Yeah, it feels like it might be quarantine again soon with the level of cases that are happening here.
That's true. But we're going to talk about knitting. We've got a lot to share. And I guess we'll just get to it.
Yeah, you have a lot to share. So we should start with you and your plethora of finished objects, because I have one finished object and it's a disaster, which I'm happy to share, but yes. Let's start with your successes.
Well, some of them are borderline disasters per the usual. So as we all may have realized, I am a definite stress knitter. If I'm stressed, I am knitting hard. So I have 3 finished objects. We might not talk about anything else, but there's lots of other things as well. So my first finished object is this mesh crop that I was almost done with the last time we talked. So I'm going to stand up.
Oh, that's so good. And are those the acid wash jeans too? Yes.
Yes, so these acid wash paper bag waist jeans are available at Target. And they are fantastic, but they are like whatever size you think you are, the waist is like snug. So keep that in mind. You want to go up a size. So this little number is my favorite thing I've knit in the last couple of months. It's so easy to wear, especially in LA with the climate of the weather and everything like that. And as I've said many times, I run very hot. So knitting is kind of an interesting hobby to have picked up, considering like I'm sweating all the time. So anyways, this is knit out of the brand is Nako, and the line is called Fiore. It's a Turkish yarn, but it's also a cotton, bamboo, nylon blend, but very breathable, very drapey. It's pretty lightweight for a cotton, and it is pretty slick. I talked about last time how like it was falling all apart on me, but this is like my perfect summer shirt. Oh, so I dyed my hair with a L'Oreal like ultraviolet or something violet hair dye. And this was a couple weeks ago when my hair was like darker. And I washed my hair, and then I loved this shirt so much. I put it on shortly after I had washed my hair while it was air drying, and this whole right side got stained, or the left side got stained with purple hair dye that was bleeding out of my hair. So I panicked. I was like, no. But my husband was like, I was like, we don't have anything we can use. And he's like, I have like floor spray, or like bathroom cleaner bleach. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. And he's like, well, what do you have to lose at this point? And I was like, okay, that's fair. So he was like, I've done it on my clothes before. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll try it. But it did. It came out. It was like, I don't know what else is in that chemical. It was bleach plus it said cleaning agent. And I know everybody is horrified, but I was like, there's you know, there's no way I'm gonna go out and find bleach on the shelves right now. So I was like, okay, we gotta use what we got. Anyways, it came out. I mean, it's gonna blow out, but you really can't see it. So that was the drama of this shirt. It was almost tragedy.
Yeah, Cameron for the win.
It worked out. But the pattern was very addictive. It's very quick. It's crop top. It's all my favorites.
What kind of yardage was involved in it? Like how much yarn did you go through in making it?
Not that much. I think it's like 600 to 800 yards, somewhere between those.
Okay, so like 3 to 4 balls of yarn, kind of.
Yeah, I had four balls, and I have some left over.
Okay.
So very affordable top as well, because it's a commercially made yarn. I think it was only $5 to $8 a ball. So $20 to $30 for the shirt.
What weight is it? The yarn?
That's a great question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to grill you.
It says that it's a sport weight, 164 yards per ball. It's 50-gram ball. I used 4, but I have some left over. And I knit the large size. The designer of the pattern is Irene Lin. She's a Taiwanese designer, so, I mean, her size ranges aren't too inclusive. Like if this was the large, you know, there's only going to be one more size up from this. My bust size is a 39. So we're talking like 51. No, wait, I can't even do math. Like 44 was the high range. There is a lot of positive ease here. So you could probably get away with knitting it if you didn't mind it tighter if you're a larger bust size. But her designs in general aren't super inclusive as far as the sizing, and I'm not sure if that's based on like the market of people she expects to be making her stuff if she's Taiwanese or what. But yeah, she's not super inclusive, and that's sad because I love so many of her designs, and I'll probably knit a lot of her designs, and it's not super fair to everybody. But shall we keep moving?
Sure. Should I talk about mine?
Yeah. We'll go back and forth, or else it's going to be like all me and then all you. We'll have 2 different segments.
So I hung up, since it is Pride Month, I put up my Pride sweater that I made last year, which sadly, I don't think there's no parade this year because of the social distancing. So
it's a virtual one.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, not as fun to like be on the streets of West Hollywood with a rainbow cape, when you're just twirling by yourself in your apartment. Right. But I mean, so successful one. Now, failure.
But so, a complete failure. It's a finished object.
It's a finished object, yeah. So and it's one, you know, we've seen it almost finished in a bunch of episodes. So this is the Nightingale. And I finally put the sleeves on, and the sleeves destroyed it. So let me put it on for you so you can see how it was massacred. Okay, so before the sleeves were in, you know, it was like this shoulder seams rested up like this. The collar was a little bit tighter, but now that the sleeves are in, they dragged everything down. So now the shoulder seam that should be here is here. So we're like 4 inches off of where it should be. And as a result, it's just thrown off the shape of everything. So now it's just like, it's this huge like boxy mess. So I don't think it's salvageable at any point. Like at one point I was like, oh, maybe I could like get some like string yarn through the shoulder seam to like tighten it up and hold it in place. But it just doesn't feel like that's going to be a viable option, because also like this shoulder's supposed to have like a puff, which I guess when you get it up here where it should be, you know, you can start to see a little bit of the gathers and a little bit of the puff, but it just doesn't have that like volume. And I think it's a result of choosing to do it in a cotton. It's just a much heavier, like at a worsted weight is just a much heavier material than a worsted weight wool, which is what the pattern calls for. But of course, I never want to do what the pattern tells me to do. I'm like, I've been knitting for a year. I know what to do. And then you get this. I think it's a complete do-over, which is like, yeah. So I think what I need to do is, and we discussed this a little bit, was probably knit down a size, maybe even 2 sizes, because the weight of the cotton pulls so much that like going smaller on the sizing will still allow for that, for the weight of the cotton to like pull it out basically to the size I want it to be without distorting it. Huh?
Have you blocked this yet?
No, because it's cotton. If once I block it, it's just gonna get it bigger.
Yeah, but maybe you want to do that before you decide what size to do, because it's going to get worse.
I understand your concern, but I do not have the same concern.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to block it. Like, it's so I can tell like how much give it has in it.
So you think you're still going to stick with the same fabric though, the same yarn, if you redid it?
Yeah, because I love the way the yarn looks, and I love the way the yarn works with the cabling and like everything about the body of it. I really like. It's just the shape isn't working with. So I don't know. I'll have to see what happens. And maybe if I go down a size, like it'll be lighter because, you know, it's less yarn, so it won't pull as much. I don't know.
Okay.
But we'll have to see. So this goes into the frog pile along with the balloon cardigan. So we're stacking them up.
But at least you know what you're going to do with this one. You just have to redo it. Is it, I mean, you liked the pattern the first time. Do you think you'd like to redo it? It was a process.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned things so that I could put into play when I redo it. I think the biggest hurdle for me is going to be ripping it out, because I did like go through and I like woven most of the ends before I put the sleeves in, and you know, like the mattress stitch to seam everything together, like having to undo that, and like it's just going to be a really long process to even get it back to a place where I can restart it. So
well, you're going to need less of the yarn, so if there's some loss in the process of pulling it out.
Yeah, I still have 2 full spit there. I still have 2 full balls of yarn that I haven't even touched yet for this. So it's like I definitely have enough materials, you know, even if there is some loss.
Well, that's sad.
Yep. So that was the big disappointment.
Always the shoulders, attaching the shoulders.
Those are my downfalls, shoulders. That's why I'm like a lot of the patterns I'm looking at now are like, a vest? Yes, let's do a vest. So that is
excellent.
Yeah, that's the travesty of the Nightingale.
Okay, I finished the Zara crop. That's what we're gonna chat about next. I'm gonna switch into it. 1 second. So this is the Zara crop. I wanted to knit this for a long time, and having knit it, I did a lot of problems. So this open boat neck is way too wide. This is crazy. And this is happening because the armhole is too small. So like it should be able to sit up here, and then you get more of like let me move my hair. You get more of like a curve to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But the hole is so small and tight that like I can't get it up on my shoulders. So what I'm going to have to do is seam this so that we get to close it a little bit, so it's more of an actual shirt instead of like, feels a little bit like I'm just trying to wrap a tablecloth around me. Okay, so I don't know who this is by, but I'm going to put the information up on the card like I usually do. But this was a like Quince & Co. a pattern made for Quince & Co. And you're supposed to be knitting it in, you know, their linen, but I knit it in Knitpicks Lindy chain, which is one of my favorite yarns. I'm always just trying to figure out how I can knit more things in it because it's the right weight, it's like the right heat quality for me because it's linen, it's breathable, and I wear my Herrera like every day of the week. So I was looking for something that would be equally useful to me. So I knitted in black with, this is like a silver color called Mist. So I had to knit it flat and mattress stitch the sides. I hardly ever knit anything that isn't knit in the round. And I avoid everything that says seaming because I hate to do it. I was so upset the whole time because it's black, can't see anything, and it just felt like it was going on forever. But if I were going to make my life easier, I would have made the armhole bigger because I would have had more space for my arm and I would have had to mattress stitch less. But having to stitch this together may never happen because I don't want to do it. I also learned on this how to do an applied chain crochet, which is how you get the verticals. When you're knitting, you basically make a little channel for your vertical lines to go through. And I suck at it because it was very hard for me to get the right tension and so that the vertical lines didn't pull it tighter, because this shirt was like a full 2 inches longer before I put in these vertical channels. And through the way that I made these things so tight, it sucked it all up, and now it's a tiny crop top. Like it was you'll see in the picture that I'm gonna put up of the original pattern, looks like an almost normal size shirt. Mine is like here, just for example, like my belly button is here. So we're talking, we've got like this much space from underneath the breast area. This is a tiny shirt. So I would recommend, Gordon, you're ruining the podcast. If you're going to do this, knit this pattern, be loose with the applied chain. Like, okay, so where's the first one? I might have to take it off to show you up close. So the first applied chain that I did, I was trying to be very meticulous about like hitting every crossbar basically, so that, you know, I crocheted into every single stitch there was available. And that's what this one looks like. I don't know if you can see it. See, there's like 100 of these here versus this one where I got a lot looser, but I could have gone even looser than this one. So all of this made me lose precious inches off this. And if you look at the bottom edge is all wonky, like it's not even straight because those things are just pulling the whole line up.
And is that blocked?
Yes.
Okay.
There is nothing left. Well, when I blocked it out to the measurements that the pattern recommended, and I've lost so many inches off of it.
So you block it after you do the applied crochet?
do beforehand so that you have it as long as it's going to be before you do the applied chain. So all of this is to say, I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be very wearable with only high-waisted pants, like the highest waisted pants.
No, I really like, I like both shirts you've shown us today. I think they're very good, like wardrobe staples.
Yeah, I just wish I had made that armhole bigger. It would have made all the difference in how comfortable this one is. But, and when I eventually just seam close just enough so that it gets over the cap of my shoulder, because having the shoulders open just makes it feel like it's about to fall off at any minute. Even though the arm is so tight that it's not going anywhere. So I guess that's the benefit to it. It feels like it's slipping, but then it's like a vice right there around the bicep. So I'm like, oh, it can't actually move anywhere. It just feels that way. So that's the Zara crop. I was kind of disappointed with it because I had wanted to knit it for so long, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to wear it like every day. That's my inner voice. But it is, I've knit it in such a way that it is only possible to wear with very specific outfits.
I don't have any other finished objects, so I don't know if you want to talk about your third one, and then we can move on to works in progress.
Sure. My last finished object is my Heli Chrysum cardigan. Ooh. Okay, so this is knitwear over knitwear. I'm not sure it's going to look great. But this is, I did the springtime version. Okay, it's weird. It's a weird look. This is the back. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. I don't have the most like movable space here, but this is a very warm, surprisingly warm sweater. It is made out of the Knitpicks. It's very Knitpicks heavy episode. It's made out of the Knitpicks Stroll Special Reserve Tweed or something like that. I'll put it in the show notes, but this is called like Panther Tweed. I started it, I ripped it all out, I did it again, and I have to say, once I got past the arms, it kind of just flew by once I sat down and like dedicated myself to it. I really kind of enjoy the striations in the yarn, and at first I was nervous that it wasn't going to be functional in my wardrobe, but once I was done with it and I put it on, I was like, oh no, this totally works. It's gonna be great. I alternated the skeins of it here in the body, which I think helped mix up the pooling of the yarn. Here, once you get down to the bottom, you can see like there's a repetitive pattern in it, but it doesn't have that like snaky pattern that sometimes happens when you're only using the same ball. It kind of broke that up a bit. I don't think I would knit that pattern again. It was well written. I just, I'm good with the one. I liked that it had a winter and a spring version, so I didn't have to do any work to figure out how I was going to shorten it, because of course I always shorten everything. And I still made it a little bit shorter than she recommended on the torso, just because of how short my torso is. And I think it hits well for me with the changes I made.
Yeah, it looked like a good fit.
Anyways, there you go. 3 finished objects. That's what I got. Nice. What do you got? Works in progress.
Works in progress. So I'm still working on the Arete. I ran out of the Cashmere, so I'm at a stopping point. I need to order more of it. I've just been trying to find a source that has it for cheaper than some of the ones I found. I think I found one on Etsy. I just have to contact them to see how much they have. I think I need to buy 3 more balls. This is where we're at currently. So, not too much farther to go. I have to finish this stripe down here, and then there's not too much more on the body after that, and then go back and do the sleeves. The sleeves I am doing, I'm not following the pattern for those. Those are big, like, balloon sleeves in the pattern, and I'm gonna have them come probably to like just above the elbow and more fitted. So it'll be, you know, kind of like a nice turtleneck thing. I don't know. I can see it in my mind. Hopefully it'll work. I'm pessimistic about my knits.
After this whole thing.
Yeah, so I'm like, can I don't know. It's kind of like 50-50 whether or not my changes work or not sometimes. So, but hopefully this will be a success. But I do really love the way the 2 colors are working.
Yeah, they look really great together, and they're very much your color palette, but they aren't mustard, and I'm very excited.
Yeah. So it'll be good. And then I did make a few adjustments, like, so the turtleneck I made it a little shorter than what the pattern calls for. Because I think in the pattern they intend it to be folded over, but I wanted it to be like a full high turtleneck. So I did put this on waist yarn, just to make sure everything was working properly and was gonna fit before I committed to purchasing more yarn and I needed to rip it all out again. Which was your recommendation. Thank you for making me do it.
I appreciate you taking a recommendation.
But when I put it on, the turtleneck is like a perfect, like, it just like runs exactly here.
Okay, just touches the jawline.
Yeah, and it's fantastic, and I love it. So, and it's still, you can still roll it down too if you want, but I love it like all like right here. So yeah, that's that guy. It's Lang yarns, both of them are Lang yarns, and the cashmere one is just the most glorious yarn ever, like, to feel. It's so soft, it's like so fluffy, it's just like, I want to make
Cashmere.
I want to make everything out of this yarn.
You created a monster.
It is difficult to knit with though, because it does have a lot of give. And so I've said this a lot before, I'm a very tight knitter. And so this has really challenged me to be a lot looser, because the cashmere does have so much spring to it, you know. It could really, if I was knitting the way I would normally, with like a cotton or like a more robust wool, you know, I pull my stitches really, really tight. And this has really made me like, just let the yarn breathe, be really loose, be really gentle, you know. So it's been a good exercise in managing my tension.
Do you feel like that helps your hands get less fatigued, or do you feel more fatigued by it?
I feel like my right hand is fine, but my left hand does get more fatigued because I have to be so conscious about the tension, and that's how I feed my yarn, is from my left hand. So like, you know, holding this hand gets a lot more tired. I didn't say that well, but yeah, I just I feel like I get a little more claw-like hand.
Okay. So it's going great, but you're gonna hit a stopping point.
Yeah, I'm at the stopping point right now. So I'm trying to get a few other objects done. I've been trying to do a lot of stash busting. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason I just like see all this yarn in my closet and it's giving me such anxiety, and I'm like, all of it needs to be used and all of it needs to make something like now.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why. Like, even just seeing on other knitting podcasts and other like Instagram posts of knitters and stuff that have that like wall of yarn behind them gives me such anxiety. And I'm like, I can't even like look at that stuff anymore. I'm just like, no.
Do not come to my house.
So I've been on a very much like use all the yarn in the house kick.
Yeah. I know this one woman, her podcast is the Crimson Stitchery. I think you would very much enjoy her philosophy, but she's doing a Stashless 2020. Her name is Anushka. She's a PhD student in London. Anyways, she's got great, she really thinks about consumption and how it affects people and why we're so tied to it in the fashion industry, because she has a fashion major. But anyways, long story long, I think you'd enjoy her as far as her philosophy on life. So basically you're just doing a Stashless 2020. Great.
Yeah, I will have to acquire a few things to finish existing projects, but at the moment there are no plans to purchase new yarn for anything.
Right. Not anything that's not completing something else.
Right, yeah.
Okay. In light of that, what have you found? What are you doing?
Okay, so I can continue on.
Yeah.
So one of the stash busting things is I found this crochet top that was like a summer top, and I liked it seemed very simple and drapey. It was kind of like the Langlun shirt I made with the drop stitches, kind of like V drapey, just kind of like breezy summery thing. And so, and then I was going through my stash and being like, what could I use that, could work with this top? Because I didn't want to buy anything new for it.
You
so
I found the pattern?
This Summer Breeze crochet top.
Okay.
Yarnspirations.
Thank you.
For Christmas, I think 2 years ago, my cousins gave me some yarn as like a gift. And so they gave me this black yarn here. So anyway, they gave me a series of 4 balls of yarn that are the same like flecked color, but the bases are different. So I had one skein with the black, one with a blue base, one with a yellow, and one with an orange. So it's not necessarily enough to make a garment like in a single base color. But I thought with this top, like the way you knit it is you knit two long panels, and then they fold over your shoulder, and then you meet them in the middle, in the front and back, and then seam on the sides. So
do you have the balls?
They're in the closet behind me.
Because I can't tell if you're marling or if those extra colored flecks are in the yarn.
Okay, so for example, this is how it comes, and it's a Cascade yarn Bentley, and it's mostly acrylic. It's 75% acrylic, 25% superwash wool.
Okay.
So this is how it comes, and then there's the orange.
Okay.
This weird baby yellow that I'm like really struggling with this one. This is the hardest one that I'm like, what do I do with you? So I don't have like this, that's all I have of these, and then the black one. So it's not really enough to make a garment in and of itself in one colorway. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make this top. And I was gonna use, and then I found, this is actually the leftover yarn from the Pride sweater that I used to make that guy, the base for it. So what I did was I started with the black, and I was like, we'll see how far we get. And it will basically be, the top will, this will be the front panel. And then this side will be blue with the white in the middle. So the white will be kind of like the unifying factor. And then, you seam the sides, pick up on the sleeves, and then do a ribbed band at the bottom. And I don't know how I feel about it. I'm very like, I keep crocheting and I have yet, and it's probably just because I'm not well versed in it and, you know, looking for patterns and looking for things, but I'm not a fan of this aesthetic in terms of like the way the stitches show.
I found that to be so surprising because you love 70s stuff and you love 80s stuff.
Yeah.
And this has a very 70s bordering on 80s vibe. The colors are 80s, the crochet looks 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be wild. So I would think you were like, this is awesome. And yet, no.
Yeah, I'm just questioning it. I don't know. I don't know if there's like too much white, like, because what I would really love is if the whole shirt was in this black color.
Yeah.
And that would be like, yes. Like crazy 80s meets 70s, like fantasticness.
So you were saying that if it were all black, it'd be 80s extravaganza, but the white that's throwing you off.
It's the white, and then it's like, I think the white could work if both sides were black, you know, like one, I think there's too much white. And so then my next inclination is like, do I just do all of these? Like, so is it, because I think I can get away with 3 of them. So is it a thing where it goes black, blue, blue, orange? Do I do like black, yellow, yellow, blue? You know, like I don't necessarily want to do black and orange next to each other because of the Halloween connotation. But
well, it's the shirt of orange. I think you'd be all right, but
yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out a way.
Well, why wouldn't you do the black in the center and then the yellow and the blue on either side, because the black has the yellow and blue in it.
Yeah. I guess I could try that. So yeah, just some things to think about. And it just feels like it's not, like it's just weird. It's not crazy weird. Like it doesn't like go far enough.
Yeah.
For me. It's just like, it looks more like a mistake than an intentional, I want to make this real strange.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is I do have this Kobu. So when I made the Ling Lone, I bought 2 colorways. I bought the mauve and I bought this silver because I wasn't sure. It was hard to tell online what the true colors would be. So, and they were such a good deal that I think I got all of them for like $25.
You're supposed
but
to
so
make
this,
that sunset ringer tee with this one, right?
yeah.
So he's already spoken for.
I guess.
I think
I found out this that ringer tee was all, the pattern was all top stitching. I kind of lost interest in it.
Why? You wanted it to be in Tarja?
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now about Intarsia? Okay.
So I don't know. So this is potentially an option as well.
I think that the adding in the white or the gray is an attempt to tone down the crazy, which I'm not sure you should. I think maybe lean into the crazy and maybe just use those yarns as they are. This one isn't.
Okay. Yeah. I like, can you send me that one?
Yeah. So this is it on a person. It's a crop though.
Okay. I could extend it.
Yeah.
Or I could only wear it with these pants.
But if you were thinking like, you know, maybe the yellow is that circle shape,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can decide either blue or black on the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
or go crazy and do orange, yellow, blue. They could all work together that way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like an Intarsia pro now. I like how I give you all the ones that I'm like, I want to make it, but I think it might be too hard. And then I give them to you and you do them and I'm like, was that too hard? Did that look fine? Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be happy with that end product.
Yeah. I mean, I did the, like, you know, you do the 2 panels. So I did the 1 panel and I'm kind of like, I haven't taken the time to start the second one yet. And I obviously have all the materials for it. So I'm like, I think that might be like a rip back and try something else.
Yeah. I think you're really into like the amorphous blob shapes. So maybe we try one of those.
Yeah. Cool. You want to talk about some works in progress? I have like 2 more that I could talk about, but break up my crazy long monologue.
And I was afraid of monologuing, and here you are. Sure. Okay. So I am doing the rocket tee.
I love that yarn so much. It's so great.
Marika, this yarn is an 80-10-10 merino cashmere nylon. And it is so, like, since I don't really knit with the luxurious things, it is so luxurious. And I am like, 10% cashmere is all I can give myself. I cannot go. I would be a monster. Anyways, so it's done except for the neckline, which of course last night I was like, I could finish it tonight and then I could wear it tomorrow, and totally went to bed so late that this morning I was supposed to wake up and do a 5-mile run, and I did not wake up. I was like, I spent too long trying to finish the knit. Till like midnight I decided I wasn't going to finish it. Anyways, so this is the rocket tee. It is by Tanis of Tanis Fiber Arts. She in the pattern says like, oh, she wanted to make a summer tee, and you're striping a fingering weight yarn with mohair, which is lace weight. This thing is like, it's like a vest of warmth, which for anyone who's not from or doesn't live in LA, the surprising thing, I am not from here. I grew up in Georgia. And the surprising thing when you get here is how many puff vests people are wearing. Like, puff vest is the winter staple. Everybody has a puff vest. And your first couple of years here, you're like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Why don't you guys have sleeves? And then slowly you're like, oh no, they're right. Like, you just want to keep your core warm, and then your arms can be whatever, because it's not really that cold. It's just, you want to keep your center warm. This is like the fanciest, most luxurious puff vest, because this whole center will be very warm with this, but at least it's not holding both of them together throughout the whole piece, so doubling the warmth, because I think I wouldn't be able to take it in that case. But in the pattern description, she's like, I just wanted to make something cute for summer. There's no way I can wear this during the summer. Like, this is a very warm piece. When I was knitting with it on my lap, I was like, oh my God, it's so hot. And I was sitting in front of the air conditioner. Anyways. But it's beautiful. It's lovely. This is Chelsea Luxe. This is her 80-10-10, and this is her mohair. And it's in, I think the mohair is Rose Warrior, and the merino is Boardwalk. I think those are the names. But I love it so much. It's so decadent and fuzzy. I got this yarn on a trip to New York, and it was part of a kit for the Birds of a Feather shawl. So I realized I didn't want to make it. I think I've said all this before. Anyways, I realized I didn't want to make it a shawl. I wanted it to be a piece that I could wear. And I mean, you can wear shawls, but a piece, just a garment. And because she had chosen these yarns to be striped in the Birds of a Feather shawl, I kind of wanted something that would be striped as well, so that it was like the intention of how they packaged the kit, but I didn't want it to be that shawl. So this is one skein of each, and I'm going to have to break into the second skein to do this neck line, but if I had chosen to do the I-cord bind off in the mohair instead, I would have been fine with just 1 and 1. And it's an option to you whether you want to do it with the fingering weight wool yarn, or if you want to do it with the mohair. And I chose to do it with the mohair on the bottom, and then I was looking at everybody's and I realized like nobody changes it, like they use the same one on each of the ends. And I was like, oh, I made the mistake, because if I had done it with the mohair, I would have had enough. And because I did it with the 80-10-10, I was short. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to do it with whichever yarn you have the most of would be the one I think you should do the edging in, so you don't run into this situation. But the kit for the Birds of a Feather came with 2 of the 80-10-10 and 1 of the mohair. So I have extra. It just sucks to have to break into it just to do the neckline. I knit the 40. Oh, I have knit this thing all the way down to here and ripped it out once and then redid it already, because I made it too big. Last time I had like 13 inches of positive ease at least, and I was making the 52 because I don't know why I did that. Anyway, so I decided I was going to make the 41 size this time, and I still have positive ease. Still, I think it's about 6 inches at least. I'll wear it next time.
Yeah, I think that's like those 2 yarns together are just really pretty.
Yeah.
Another one of my projects in progress is I'm knitting my first pair of socks. So these are the Secret Garden socks. I'm doing them in the West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply in nutmeg. So it's kind of hard to see. You can see a bit of it. I am knitting, you have the option with the pattern to make 4 different heights of socks. So you can make like kind of like a calf level sock, below the knee sock, and just over the knee sock, and then a thigh high sock or / leg warmer. So I am knitting the thigh high sock because why not? Like, first pair of socks, go big or go home. So you obviously start from the thigh and work your way down. And it's actually, it was very intimidating at first looking at the chart to get the like lace pattern down, but once you get into it, it's super easy. It's really easy to remember too. And she also gives you a really handy chart at the beginning of the pattern where you can write in all of your measurements, and she gives you like the different places to measure. I was like, so I'm just following her pattern repeat recommendations for the thigh high socks. So we'll see what happens.
Marika, that is such a gamble.
Well, I'll have one and then I'll know what to do. Like, so I'm just trying to like spread out it's hard to see the pattern right now. Spread it out a little more if you can see how the lace works.
Yeah, you can kind of see.
Yeah. So It's been great so far. I did buy, you have to do it on a 1.5 size needle, and I didn't have anything that small. So after watching Coco knit a bunch of socks on these little 9-inch, is it Chagu?
Yeah, Chagu.
Chagu needles. I just ordered a set of those in US 1.5. I did struggle at first because this is now 2 decreases in. So now I'm at like a good amount of stitches on the needles. But when I first cast on for this ribbing, I was like, I just have to keep going on the ribbing, because if I put the needles down, like 10 stitches would like pop off the ends of them because there are too many stitches for this size needle. But now it's at a good spot, and it's going really fast. I do have to be really careful about how much time I spend using them because it does really cramp up my hands. But yeah, I'm really excited. At the end, you do have to go back through and get some kind of like elastic thread and do some chaining at the top, just to keep it tight, keep it up on your leg. So we'll see.
Crazy. I would never do a thigh-high sock. It would take so much fabric.
It's actually been pretty good. Like, this is still just the first ball, and it feels like there's a pretty good amount left. So we'll see. I have one more I could talk about. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I'm just knitting on the picket fence poncho. So I'm doing Stash Dash this year, which is it's like a self competition. So you're only competing with yourself. I mean, that's clearly self competition, but it's just to give yourself a goal for kind of like getting your stash down. That the Knit Girls with 3 L's, they host every year on their channel. And I set the goal for myself at 7,000 meters, which if each of my projects is between 600 and 1,200 meters, well, that's yards. Well, no, meters are close. Say there's somewhere in that range, then I kind of have to finish 7 or more pieces. And this one is the start of what counts for yardage or meters. So I've got 4 done, and I decided I'd pick back up on my picket fence poncho, because if I finish it, it's a lot to add. So I am starting the 8th repeat now, but as you can see, I've got the first panel basically done. And it's not that it's 2 panels, it's that you knit this length twice basically. So this is where it is currently. It's gonna be cute.
Yeah.
Is this backwards? Yeah, that's backwards. Okay. It's still gonna be cute, but the ridges are on the outside. So I just have to do about 4 more repeats of the pattern, and then allegedly that's supposed to be enough for it to like block out and make a poncho.
Nice.
So hopefully I'll finish that one up. I'm gonna do a couple of the repeats, see how long it takes me, and then decide like, is that actually a worthwhile piece to try to do for Stash Dash, or would I be better off doing smaller pieces faster? I'm not sure. We're gonna see. So I'm working on that one as well.
Cool. The only other thing I have is the trove. I did swatch for it. So this is my swatch here. Swatching it kind of killed my momentum. I'm a little unsure of it now. So
because your swatch is too big?
My swatch is too big, and then for some reason, like the lines of color that are coming through don't seem to read as prominently as other ones I've seen. And so I'm like, did I do something wrong? Like, is it the wrong needle size? Like, what am I doing that's making it so that the lines, like this background color, once you get into the line, should kind of fade out, and it should really, these other colors should be the star of the show. But for some reason, they're not as prominent as what I've seen in other people's knits. And so I'm trying to figure out why that is, because I do like how all the colors look together. Like, I'm very happy with the color choice, just for some reason it's not reading right.
I think it's because the darker colors are the same tone as the teal. So the only one that's popping is the bright color, the whitish looking one.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, they're the same tone. So it's a more muted look.
Mm-hmm.
Which is generally why if the like darker, if the stripes have been darker, other people are doing a lighter background. Mm-hmm. Or if they're lighter, then they've done a darker one.
Mm-hmm. But even just in terms of like the width of the stripes too, like I was looking at Ginger Twist is knitting this right now, so I was looking at hers, and the way her stripes were coming out is she's not getting as big of a gap in between them. And so that made me think, like, am I knitting the pattern wrong, or do I need to change the gauge somehow so that like in between the colors is smaller? So I'm not sure. I also didn't have the correct size needle to start the cast on anyway, so I had to put a pause in it. The needles just came in yesterday, so I've been debating whether or not I'm gonna cast it on.
Did you swatch in the round?
No.
So maybe, and it's knit in the round though?
Once you get below the arms. It's knit back to start.
Okay. You are just presenting conundrums.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's part of my knitting melancholy.
Yeah. I totally get it. I had this one kind of done. Well, not kind of done. I was like 3/4 of the way through it and had to rip it all back, which is the only reason why I got this one done, because I was so sad about having sized this one wrong and having to rip back mohair that I was like, okay, this cardigan is working. Just knit the cardigan. So sometimes you just have to find something that you're like, even though it's not glorious, it's just, it's working. Mm-hmm. Which would be your Arete, but you keep running out of yarn, I guess. It would be the bell cardi, but you ran out of yarn, and yeah, I understand. I wish we had something more positive to end on. That is very dour.
I should have ended on the socks.
I guess so, yeah. Next, cut it. I don't know if I can edit it. Maybe I'll try to edit it
in a different order.
Yeah. Okay, well then, that's it.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about what we've been reading?
Yeah, but first we'll say cheers. We'll close the knitting portion.
Okay.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Happy knitting. Yeah, I did buy I went to Trader Joe's yesterday and got some rosé, but I was like, should I be drinking rosé at 11 a.m.? I don't know.
Yes, the answer is yes.
So,
what have you been reading?
I finished 2 books.
Look at you.
Yeah, one is I bought a long time ago and just was like, meh. And then in researching, for some reason I've just been like on a sci-fi fantasy kick lately, and so I was like researching some things like best of lists and stuff like that, and this book came up and I was like, oh, that book from the description on this list, I was like, that book sounds amazing. And then doing more research, I was like, oh, it was this book I bought like 3 years ago and was like, meh. So I was like, maybe I'll give it another shot now that, you know, because I think when I bought it I didn't have time to like concentrate on it properly, so I went back to it. It's called Midnight Riot by Ben Aronovich. And so it's basically a London police officer who realizes like he can see ghosts and starts training to be a magician. And there are these series of very odd murders happening across London. And so there's actually a section of the police force that deals with like magical crimes. And so he gets indoctrinated into that section of the police force and is trying to figure out who's behind all of these horrific crimes that are happening across London. And so it's like, it's basically like a very strict crime procedural, but with magic.
Okay.
So you do have to pay attention a lot. So I've just been listening to it on dog walks. But it also is very, reminded me a lot of Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. So the secret underground realm that coexists with like the normal world that most people never see, but that does have a lot of influence in everyday life. So like the Thames, there's a personification of the Thames that he has to interact with. And, you know, so it did feel like American Gods, Neverwhere, very Neil Gaiman-esque. Okay. I'm not sure if I'll pursue any of the rest of the series, but it was a good book. And then I started researching books on, inspired by quarantine, on loneliness. Right. And like books that are like about loneliness and celebrate loneliness. And so I found this one book called Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by... I
told you about this book before.
What?
I told you about this book before.
Oh, you did?
I freaking love this book. 5-star read. One of my favorite books of the year. But you're reading it?
I read it.
And what'd you think?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
They are charming, likable. It's a fun book.
Yeah. And I felt like I identified a lot with Eleanor in it, in like her rigidity in a lot of situations.
Yeah. And just not understanding like why anyone would think anything other than what she thought.
Yeah. And being like, well, this is the obvious way to do it. Why doesn't everybody do it this way?
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely was like, oh, okay, I could definitely learn from this. Yeah. And then I went back to some more sci-fi fantasy. And so now I'm reading The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. And it's really good, really like applicable to modern times. It takes place where I'm at right now, and the book is set around Los Angeles. They're living in a suburb of Los Angeles. Kind of all sort of structure and order has fallen away, and everyone has kind of like built up their own walled communities to try and protect themselves. Everyone's kind of roaming free and just kind of like pillaging to survive. No one can afford water. So it just felt very, very prescient and like, okay, yeah, this could be a reality very quickly. It's set in 2020. It starts in 2024. So I was like, all right, yeah, we could probably get there in about 4 years based off what's happened recently. So yeah, I thought it's been really, really good so far. So I'm looking forward.
So it's reading more like a tactical survival book rather than a sci-fi fantasy. You're like, oh, okay, I need to be taking notes. Yes, this.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's great. Those all sound like good books, which is quite a turn from last time where I had to cut out everything you said because I was like, it's too much.